Hi everybody, welcome to Sports for All podcast. I'm Eden and today I've got a great guest. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Beth. I used to be a competitive athlete until COVID came around, and now I'm volunteering in the youth voice and social action world, doing a lot of work, which I'm excited to tell you about.
Amazing, thank you Beth. So good to have you. Cannot wait for our chat. So my first question is, do you want to tell us a bit about how you got involved in the sport growing up and what that was like for you?
So, my earliest memory of sport, I grew up kind of privileged and I had a swimming pool in my back garden. So, from being able to walk, my mum put me in the swimming pool, taught me how to swim because she was very scared that I was going to drown. So, that's probably my earliest memory. I remember doing swimming lessons, always going swimming in my back garden, absolutely loved it. Um, but I was an energetic kid, running off the walls, always dancing. My mum thought, right, let's enroll her in dance. So I did dance for so many years. I did all different styles. I even did freestyle disco dancing for a while, if any of you are familiar with that. Um, Even did like point and ballet for a bit, until I was around 12. And then at 12, I decided to take a pivot and go into the world of gymnastics. I started with a little bit of the traditional artistic gymnastics, doing like beam and bars, until I eventually found a love for gymnastics in trampolining and double mini trampoline, where I went up to a national level and I even started coaching. And some of my gymnasts are now at an international level, and I still look at their Instagrams now, and it's really great to see how far they've gone and know that I was part of the foundation of that. Unfortunately, then COVID came along and struck me down and forced me to retire very early on at around 16, which was very sad because it was a sport that was so close to my heart. And I've grown up doing sport. Sport came before school in my books. Most recently, though, I have picked up ice skating to try and get back into sport a little bit. And I've also just signed up for a marathon, but I can't run more than 2K at the minute. So I don't know if this marathon is going to happen. I think I'm being ambitious. But you never know. This time next year, I might have a marathon medal hung up on the wall.
That is so cool. You'll have to come
Yeah.
back on and be telling us all about your
Yeah.
marathon. That'd be so good. I love how you kind of went through all the sports and then you found your love. Were you able to do like flips and stuff?
Yeah, so in trampolining, it's really weird. You do flips and like shapes in the air. And you do it's normally 10 skills in a routine. So yeah, I was doing all flips and I just before I left, I just started training to go to international. So I started training double somersaults, which actually were
Wow.
really fun, especially when you first start learning them, you do them onto this massive, like squishy mat and you just sort of like land on your back and it's really fun. And then double mini tramp is like you run at this little trampoline on the floor and you jump and do two skills and then you jump off it and you have to try and land and stand still, which is really hard. And I'm not really sure who came up with the idea, but again, I used to love it. And it's less work than 10 skills on a trampoline. It's just like two and it's
Yeah,
done. So I used to quite enjoy that.
that was so cool. I love watching it like on YouTube in the
Yeah.
Olympics. Like I
It's
literally spend a
so
lot of time watching.
admiring. I'm like, I know I can do some of those skills, but the skills they're doing at that level is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Oh my gosh. And what made you like want to go back to doing ice skating?
Um,
I love ice skating. So good.
I don't even know why. I think because I've always grown up like watching other sports as well, especially like horse riding. Love to try horse riding, but it's really expensive. And
Yeah.
I always used to watch ice skating as well. And I think one day I was just like, you know what? Like I live really close to my local ice rink, which is actually the National Ice Centre, which is in England. It's quite a big ice centre. A lot of like big events are held there. So I was like, fair enough. Like, I live so close by, let's go and give it a go. And I actually found that through because I'd done all these other like artistic-y sports, it came really easy to me. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I was like Bambi on ice when I first started. I was awful. But once I'd got the basics mastered, the rest of it came pretty easy, especially like the artistry behind it. Because I'd got that dance experience and like the muscle skills from gymnastics. They sort of blended really nicely into it. And actually it works out really well. So
Yeah. I love that. I think ice skating is just like so like quite relaxing. Is it like once you get the hang of it,
Yeah.
you can just kind of like let it.
I
It's like,
think
oh
that was my thing with gymnastics as well. As much as I loved it, the one thing I missed was like the music and the artistry. Like you can tell a
yeah,
story with dance. And I think on the ice, it just works out a little bit better because it's so like you just float around and you can put a
yeah,
bit more emotion into it. And it was, yeah, it's a really good sport actually. It's really interesting when you watch it and like learn about the sport.
yeah. It's like on all the spins and stuff, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
How do they not get dizzy?
No, honestly, I don't know how. Like I am not that good, so I can't spin that much. But these people, I watch them and they're spinning so quickly. I'm like, how are you not falling over? How are you not dizzy? Because I get dizzy after a few, and you're doing like hundreds. It's crazy.
It's It really is, yeah. So moving to my next question, which is slightly off topic, but kind of links as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about Youth Voice, like what you've been involved in through that, and also like with Sir John as well? Because like I know you've done a lot.
Yeah, I've done quite a lot. So it's a really good time to film this podcast because this week is my birthday and I'm aging out of cadets at St. John's. I'm going into adults. It's a really scary time, but I think I've got closure with it now and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for me. So this is a really nice time to reflect on it. So I started in St. John 3 years ago now. Funny story behind it. Everyone has these beautiful stories about, how they helped save a life and joined St. John that way. Mine is really boring. I went on Google one day, because I wasn't doing sport anymore. I didn't really have anything to do. And my mum
Yeah.
goes, "Why don't you join cadets?" And my logic behind which cadet force I was going to choose was which one had the nicest uniform. And so I'd gone on Google, was looking at the different uniforms and I was like, oh, army cadets looks nice, sea cadets look nice, ambulance cadets. Oh, I wonder what that is. So I went and I researched it, signed up. So that's how I joined. And then from there I fell in love with it and I devoted my life to it. So I've did my first aid course very early on. And I've done lots of different events. So last weekend I was down in London doing the London Marathon, working it, not running it, for the second year in a row.
Oh yeah.
Um, not yet. I've done things like Lincolnshire Show and also Splendour Festival. I've also done loads of really small community events, especially things like when the Queen's Jubilee was on and the funeral, different community events for that. And then most recently, I've been involved with the Leicester Nighttime Economy programme. And what that is it's a night shift. So we go out into the city centre about 10 o'clock at night and we finish at 5 in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays. And it's just a initiative at keeping people safe in the city centre of Leicester. So we do that through a couple of different ways, but my main responsibility is either being on a treatment centre, which is a static medical base in the city centre, or roaming around on a foot team, walking around, interacting with local businesses, the police, and also just being public presence for there and for people to see us. We're there for people to come up to if they need help, and we can also get dispatched to jobs as well. And roaming around, you do come across jobs that potentially might have been missed because people go out on a night out, they get separated from friends, things can happen, they can fall unwell, and sometimes it can take a while for people to find them and get the help they need. Whereas if we're roaming around and we come across them, they get that really early intervention. So I've really loved doing that, and I've been doing it majority of the weekends between now and for the last 6 months, I'd say. And I even did it on New Year's Eve, which was
Oh
a
wow.
really crazy night. And it was really nice because there was some really young people there who had never been out drinking before, sort of thing. And it was really nice to just know that we were there and we were there to keep them safe if they needed. And it's really nice sometimes because I do spend some nights only helping one or two people, and it's great because it means everyone else has had a pretty safe night out. Um,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm trying to think if I've done anything else. I was the District Cadet of the Year for Derbyshire in 2024.
Yeah.
So I finished my term a couple months, like in December, so a couple months ago. And that was really exciting. I got to go down to like St. Paul's Cathedral in London to celebrate St. John's Day. I also got to go to like other smaller local events and help out and just be a voice and an ambassador for my district, getting to put in like new initiatives in place, which again was really exciting actually. And I was really proud to be working on that. So I'm really excited to carry on the work that I've done, and watching that grow is really great. I've actually just won two awards recently. So I won as part of my college called Good for Me, Good for Effie Awards, um, for all of my work that I've done with both Ingeus Youth Voice and also St John as well. Um, and so I was nominated for that and I was shortlisted. And I think I remember telling Eden, I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I've been shortlisted for this. And I went down to London to the House of Lords, met some really great people, and then found out I won. And I remember like texting people, and I was like, felt like I was gonna pass out because I was just like, this is crazy. Like, before this, I'd never really won any awards, and to win this
Mm.
award of like to recognize all the work I've done, it's absolutely incredible. Last week we had an awards night for the area and the network I'm in as part of St John, and I won a certificate of appreciation award, and it was given to me by the county and the deputy county commissioner of my district, and it was just for my exceptional service and upholding the heart values. Sorry, the heart values are like our values in St John and what we uphold. And it's just for all of my hard work and going out on all those night shifts and events. And then the second award was for doing 500 hours as a cadet last year, which is crazy to think about.
Oh,
I really didn't
yeah.
think I'd done that many. That was really exciting. To be honest, there is so much more that I've done, but I think we would need like a whole
Yeah.
other cast
Amazing.
to talk about
Yeah.
that. Um, but it's been so great. I've made so many memories, met so many amazing people. Yeah, there's been ups and downs, but I've got a lot of sunburn, very achy legs. I think my legs ache just thinking about some of the things I've done.
It's
Even
like
like,
trauma of
yeah,
standing for ages.
like I la last weekend was London Marathon. A lot of us did a night shift on Friday night. We got back Saturday morning, we slept, we got up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, got on a coach, went to London, and got back at 1 o'clock on Monday morning. So
Oh my
we're
God.
crazy. My legs were hurting a lot. But it's just great memories. We had so much fun that day, and it was so
Yeah.
great to be able to cheer the runners on and just get to see all these. I made like everyone was running for a different reason there, and it was so emotional actually watching all these people just telling their stories and telling us why they were running it, why they were doing it, and it was so like inspirational almost, and it was really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, such an incredible opportunity.
I think we should maybe talk about Ingeus a little bit, and they are such a big part of my life as well.
Yeah. We
So
love
I
Ingeus.
got involved with Ingeus Youth Voice actually through St John. It was probably 2 years ago. And one of the St John Ambulance youth Instagram pages put out a link to apply to this national ambassador spot. And I'd worked on some projects in St John at that point and I really enjoyed it and I wanted to continue the work I was doing. So I put in an application and I fully did not expect to get in. I was expecting to just get let down and just be like, yeah, thank you for your application, but at this time we've decided to go with other candidates. No, I walked out of my GCSE exam and I remember looking at my phone reading this email and I was so confused to start with. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I realised, oh yeah, it was this national ambassador spot I applied for. And I was
Yeah.
absolutely over the moon. I was so happy. I went around telling all my teachers, being like, look at
Look at
this. And this is a message to anyone out there who's got teachers who are telling them they're going to fail or they're not going to be anything just because you don't like their subject or you're not doing well in it. Or even if you're misbehaving and they're telling you you're going to be nothing, you're not. Okay, don't listen to them. You are
that.
going to be something. You're going to be amazing at whatever you do. Because that's what I got told. I got told that I was just going to be a dropout, that I was never going to be anything. And I went around telling all of these teachers, look at this. I am a national ambassador. I'm about to represent the whole of East Midlands at these really cool conferences, like sort of laughing in their face moment. It was great.
Yes.
Um,
Actually.
I still didn't even know what I'd signed up to. And I met Keisha for a meeting and she explained everything and I was hooked. I was so excited and got involved in a few of like the smaller projects that we did. They were really exciting. Went to like the first face-to-face meeting. We always ended up playing some games, have pizza, but then we started doing the actual work and working on projects, discussions, And it was so exciting to be in a room with all these people who are like-minded people. They have the same ambitions and wants. They want to change things for the better. They want to have an impact. I was just hooked. So from there, I've done quite a lot. I was working on a big project that unfortunately fell through. I'm really disappointed about it, but I'm not going to reveal anything yet because I am hoping that we can bring that project back and carry it on. Last minute, our venue pulled out and it meant we couldn't go
Yeah.
ahead with it, which was so annoying because it was going to be so
Mhm.
good. But fingers crossed, we're
Yeah.
hopefully potentially going to bring it back. We did a residential recently as well, but it was so exciting because we did all this work, but we also got to do a load of team building as well. And I remember we went paddle boarding, and I have been paddleboarding before, so I sort of knew what I was doing. Um, and I remember sitting on the paddleboard with like my feet dangling in the water, and I was like, you know what? Like, can I go swimming? And then they were like, I mean, sure, why not? So I just sort of went in the water and went swimming. I mean, it was like October. It was freezing cold, and this was in Milton Keynes. It was in the river. Like, it was not clean by any means.
Yeah.
Um, I remember everyone thought I was so weird. Everyone was like, Beth, why are you swimming? Like, what is going on? You know what? I absolutely fell in love with it, and I would really like to go like open water swimming because it was so fun. So we've done loads of really cool like team building things like that, but we've also done like some really important work. Like we've done the youth strategy that we've worked on recently. We've done a lot of work with the National Citizenship Service, albeit that they've now closed down, which is really sad. I've got my fingers crossed that hopefully something really incredible replaces it, because it is such a big loss to lose a program like that. But hopefully something else is in the works to replace it. We've also just done a lot of work with Restart Greater Manchester. We went and delivered some sessions. I went down and did two of them, and they were really exciting. And it was really such a great insight to work with these young people. Each young person has different struggles, and even the same struggle is perceived differently by two different people. So it was really great to actually get to work with these young people and get to hear about their struggles and just to share my struggles as well and like communicate with them and give each other strategies to cope and help. And it was really insightful. I walked away with a lot more knowledge than I thought. I thought I was going there to deliver a session. I came away with like a bucket full of knowledge. It was really exciting. I delivered a session in London to the London management team to see if we can start doing some work in London as well. And then in Greater Manchester, we're going to start quality assessing the Restart program and actually getting to sit in on these workshops, assess them. When I first started in Ingeus, because we were really small and we were just starting out, we didn't have a lot of funding. We were really limited in what projects we could actually do, and we didn't get a lot of offers. But now we're actually getting so many more offers coming through, and there's a few conferences coming up that I'm really looking forward to trying to attend.
Oh, that's so exciting. You've done some amazing work there. It's been really,
Yeah.
really great to hear. Yeah, so cool. So my next question, quite a hard one, I think this one. Who have some of your biggest inspirations been in sports, but also in life,
I,
honestly?
in the
Yeah.
sport world, I have probably three main people who inspire me. The first one being from the trampoline world, Bryony Page. She is a trampoline gymnast who first went to the Olympics 3 years ago. And in trampolining at the Olympics, it works very different to a lot of other sports in that the spots are limited, and normally only two, maximum three gymnasts from each country get to go to the Olympics. And she was the only person going, and she won silver. I believe it was Rio. She did an amazing routine, and she wasn't far off winning the gold actually. And then at the next Olympics, she won bronze. I think she's almost 30, maybe even
Wow.
old.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but she's really old, especially in the sporting world. I believe it was in between Rio and whichever one the next Olympics was. She lost all of her skills and she went through like mental blocks and she had to relearn everything. And so
Wow.
it was so incredible to make a comeback like that. Um,
Yeah, that is amazing.
she got selected along with another athlete called Izzy Sondhurst. And it was the first year ever actually that two British gymnasts have represented Great Britain at the Olympics for trampolining. And unfortunately, I'm not sure where Izzy placed, but she didn't place in the top three. But Bryony actually went and won the gold, completing her set of medals. Probably almost 12 years to complete. She's got bronze, silver, and gold now. And that is like determination. Another one is Alexandra Trusova, who's now called Alexander Ignatova because she's got married. She's a Russian figure skater. And at the last Olympics, she competed 5 quadruple jumps. Now, in figure skating, a quadruple jump, you jump in the air and you spin 5 times, which is absolutely just insane. It was only ever seen really in the men's sport just because of the sheer power, height, dynamics that go into a quadruple jump. And she competed 5 of them. And I think if that doesn't say determination and just defying the laws of physics, I don't know what will. I think there's a quote that sticks with me, and she said something along the lines of winning is first place, everything else is losing. And I'm like, I mean, that's not a good mentality to have. I think winning is whatever you make it. But that
Yeah,
just goes to show how determined some people are. And I think that level of determination is incredible. I don't think I could ever do that. I think she must have been training so hard, probably really long hours to make that possible. Because to
yeah.
attempt one quadruple jump in figure skating as a woman is amazing, let alone attempt 5. I think she would break a few world records with that one. And
I
finally,
know.
my last one in the sport world. I know she's never going to hear this, but my old PE teacher, she called Stacey Huna now. Back in year 9, I was probably the worst pupil ever. As I've probably mentioned earlier on in the podcast, I didn't do well in school. The thing is, I wasn't very academic. I just wanted to do sport growing up. Sport was where my heart was. I remember she pulled me aside one day and she was shouting at me, like proper shouting, and then she stopped and wasn't shouting anymore. And she said something along the lines of like, you need to make a decision now. You can carry on like this, and in 10 years' time you can look back and regret. Imagine what your life would have been like, and you'll end up somewhere you don't want to be because you have potential. Or you can make a really hard decision and you can put the hard work in now and be unstoppable. And so, yeah, that really sat with me.
Wow,
And she
yeah.
never gave up on me. She was very tough, but she did it out of love and wanting me to do well. And I'm so grateful for that because she could have given up on me, a couple months after I started being horrible. But she didn't. She carried on. And eventually, by like year 10, when I started doing GCSE sport, she was probably my favourite teacher. And I like
Oh,
to think I was her favourite pupil.
yeah.
And
I bet.
she witnessed such a change in me. And by the end of year 11, she was like, I'm so incredibly proud of like how much you changed. I went from being this like really noisy, probably obnoxious pupil who just wanted to be front and center, wanted to prove to everyone that I could do something. And she round that in and was like, look, you don't have to be front and center to show everyone what you can do. You just need to do it. I went from being this student who was always at the front of the room, answering all the questions, showing off how good I could be, and still being quite obnoxious to this student who literally all I wanted to do by the end was just sit in the corner of the classroom with my headphones in and just get on with my work. And that
Yeah.
to her, me sitting in the back of the classroom just getting on with my work meant more to her than me sat at the front showing her that I knew all the answers. And I found a real love for anatomy and physiology in sport. I think that's where I always had a passion for the medical field, but doing sport and doing all that anatomy and physiology really brought the medical side out of me a bit more. I have her to thank, really, because I think
Yeah.
if she never had that conversation with me and if she gave up on me, I don't think I would be where I am today. I think we wouldn't be having this conversation in a very different situation. So I really hope that one day I actually get to let her know how much she helped me because she was an incredible person. I think I do have a lot of people that inspire me in the medical world and like general life as well. There is this one person. I was on a seminar a couple weeks ago and it was all to do around like suicide prevention and suicide
Mm.
awareness. It was done by the Association of the AAC, and there was this person called Joe. I know his Instagram is called the Paddling Paramedic, and he told us this story about how he was in a really
Yeah.
difficult place and his family had brought him this paddleboarding lesson and he decided one day I'm going to go and I'm going to do it and he found a love for paddleboarding and now he is this really inspirational paramedic and he's doing all of these amazing things like he's working on projects and he's helping out with charities. I think he paddleboarded all the way from like across the English Channel. So he's really inspirational. And then there's definitely a few other people that like have affected my cadet journey and have brought the better side of me out, or even just taught me things, like even just down to little tiny conversations that like I've
Yeah.
met like ambulance crew members who have literally just gone, "Oh, do you want me to teach you this?" And they've taught me something, and I still remember that to this day, and I still use that in my teaching. So I think there's so many people out there that I could thank, but there's definitely a few that sit closer in my heart that have pushed me in the right direction.
They all sound like amazing people, especially that teacher as well. Like,
Really make or break a student, really. I
yeah,
think we have to mention Keisha because she's
yeah,
inspirational as well. Like, the fact she's studying at uni as well, alongside doing all of this work with
I know.
us, is just incredible. And I do
Yeah.
actually look up to her sometimes, and I'm like, you are the inspiration.
And she
Yeah,
cares so much as well.
she
Like, she
is
puts so
so
much
caring.
effort and so much passion into it
You can
as well, and you
tell
can
that
really
she's
tell.
one of those people that isn't doing it for the money or the representation. She's doing it because she cares.
Absolutely. And we need more people like that.
We definitely do.
So the next one is what skills have you learned from being involved in sport and St. John as well, and how have they helped you like growing up?
I mean, I've learned so much. I definitely say sport. Like, I learned like a lot in like teamwork. I mean, pretty much all the skills, the sports I did were like individual sports, but I definitely learned like teamwork, just being part of a team. I definitely learned some organization skills. I remember back when I was young, um, when I was like first started like making packing my own dance bag and stuff and I'd get to dance and I'd be ringing my mum up like, "Mum, I forgot my tap shoes. Mum, I've not got any tights." Or like we'd get to a competition, I'm like, "Mum, did you pack my hairpiece?" And so I was so forget, and I think that is through sport because it just teaches you have to be organized. You can't just like turn up to a competition without like the main piece of equipment that you need. And definitely just like simple skills, just like musicality and how to listen to music. Skills that I probably won't need in life, but sometimes I find myself if I'm listening to songs or I'm watching a musical, I just find that I'm like you pay attention to things
Yeah.
that normal people might not pay attention to, whether someone's in time with the music or like what type of music it is. And also like just obviously like dance and gymnastic skills. Like I find myself now I'll just be in the middle of Tesco sometimes and I will just like, just do a little like spin or whatever. And I can still do the worm. And there is a video of me at in St. John's somewhere on an event doing the worm. I just think that's really cool. Like it's just such a random little party trick to throw out. Unfortunately, I can't
Yeah.
do this anymore because that used to
Oh.
be when I was a kid. That was my party trick. Like I just
Mhm.
do the splits. And I remember once I was at a birthday party and I did like a straddle jump and then jumped into middle splits and I whacked my chin on the floor and I actually cut my chin open and it was so bad. My mum had to literally drag me off the dance floor and try and take me to hospital. But yeah, the splits and the worm have definitely been like a little party trick of mine.
Video in this.
I wish we could because it's really funny. I
Yeah.
think in terms of St. John, I've learned to write really nice in-depth paperwork really quickly. When you learn to write like the medical paperwork, the patient report forms, you aren't taught the proper ambulance way. You're sort of just taught at the basic first aider level. But then when I was out on the nighttime economy or the NTE shifts that I do, someone actually taught me how to write it properly as if I was on the ambulances. And so they sent me like a template and I'd sit and I'd follow the template. And I remember the first time I wrote it, and I wrote it lovely. It was all in depth, all the information was there. But it did take me almost 2 hours to write it. I mean, it was great. I had nothing else to do. It killed a lot of time. But I was like, in the medical world, I can't spend 2 hours writing paperwork. So
Yeah.
I've learned to type quickly, and I've also learned what information doesn't need to go on the paperwork. Because at the start, I'd write everything down, no matter how irrelevant it was. And I've learned now just to sift through the information like mentally, and I can
Yeah.
do it so much quicker now. And I think generally, as a whole, Ingeus and St. John, probably even sport as well, have taught me how important CPD is and continuous education.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times that like I've gone to use a skill and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that recently. And I think that continuous education is so important because it means you get the most up-to-date skills and it means you just learn things that you might not have learned elsewhere, or like you get to recap on skills you don't use that often. Because unfortunately, in the medical world, there's so much you need to know, but it's only going to happen like 1% of the time. You could go your
Yeah.
whole career and never come across some of these more serious injuries. But you still need to be prepared. So I think that's why CPD is so important. And doing all of this has taught me that, and it actually has given me a lot of a love for it. I will always take a CPD opportunity, especially if they're like really cool. I actually did one year. Um, the in the medical field we have like the FEM structure, and we went to a training day with the soon to be like helimed doctors and paramedics. So, and I actually got to go on this slanted crash train scenario. It was
Oh, wow.
so weird. You had to like, we ended up trying to like walk along the windows and like climb over the seats to get to the patient.
Oh my
And
God.
it was incredible. And I think it
Yeah.
gave me a real insight into the fact that I could probably never be a HEMS doctor or paramedic because that was kind of scary. It was really insightful, and that was such a fun day. I think just general communication with St. John and even with Ingeus, you speak to so many different
Yeah.
people, especially in St. John. You speak to children, and especially when you do NTE, you speak to a lot of intoxicated people, and you really learn how to speak to different, and even people that are new to the country and don't understand the language, or people with learning difficulties and may not either they might have like selective mutism, they might be deaf, various different needs. Sometimes it's really challenging learning how to communicate with them, but it's really interesting as well when you actually do find that way and to be able to go and share that with other people and explain how you've learned from that scenario, especially dealing with intoxicated people. No intoxicated person is the same. With one
Yeah.
person, you might have to really break it down for them. With another person, you might just have to say one word answers. Another person, you could give them full sentences and they're probably going to come out with more information than you. It's really just about learning and adapting.
Yeah. And you're in so many different scenarios as well. So you just have to be adaptable and
You
stuff.
just have to adapt to what's in front of you. And I think sometimes it's so difficult. Sometimes I will admit that like I've gone to a patient and noticed that they're either severely inebriated, they're not able to talk to me. And in my training I know what to do. Sometimes it's hard and sometimes you're faced with a
Yeah.
situation and not even with communication as well, with general patients that your training might not have covered or your training did cover it, but it was a while ago and you've forgotten what to do. You don't know what to do with this situation. And I think, yeah, it's sometimes it's pretty scary and you just have to put a brave face on. A quote I live by as well is like, in the medical world, you could be having the worst day of your life, but you have to put a brave face on because you're also going into someone's worst day of their life. You need to be that support for them. You are there for them. You are the help. I think maybe that's why I like it. It's a sense of purpose.
No, definitely. And so my next question is, what have been some barriers and challenges that you faced getting involved, or maybe other young people have faced that you've noticed?
I'd definitely say in especially in sport, there's such a big divide between men's and women's. I think that artistic sports like dance, gymnastics, even skating is very heavily women dominated, which is great. We love that. But it makes it harder for the men. When
Yeah.
I was in dance, in my age category, I'd never see any boys, and because there was so little of them, if there was a boy that was in the competition, they would always just get put in with the girls category and they were always winning. And a lot of the time, people would look at it and go, well, the one who came second, her skills were so much harder than the boy. And sometimes I looked at it and like, I watched the category once and I was like, don't get me wrong, he was a good dancer, but he wasn't as good as some of the other people in that category. I also think just accessibility as a man or a boy to those artistic sports is so difficult because at the gymnastics clubs or dance clubs, they don't really have boys only classes and you don't want to be the only boy there. There's a
Yeah.
big stigma around it as well. I think a lot of boys, like I think we had a few boys start and they would leave because they would get bullied for it. And even in trampolining, there was this one boy who did compete with us and he was really good. Um, but yeah, stigma, I think I'm not sure if he does it anymore, but stigma definitely got the better of him in that, like, the stigma around men being in sport was that he should be bulky, he should have these big muscles. So I remember one day he came in and he started using like protein powder and going to the gym. And whilst that's great, it's not what you need for trampolining. Trampolining, you need to be strong, but you also need to be light because the heavier you are, like the more muscle you have, the more effort it is to get in the air, and you need to be as high as possible. So it sort of contradicted himself, and then ultimately, like, he was getting bullied for being in the sport, which was horrible. And then there was also in my local area, there is such a big drug culture, unfortunately. And for a while, there was a few of the people who were in my trampolining club actually got involved in drugs for a little bit. I felt so bad for them because I was like, this is what sport does to people. There's such a big in performance enhancing drug culture.
Yeah.
And even most recently at the Winter Olympics, one of the figure skaters got caught doping performance enhancing drugs in her system. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is the sort of stigma that we're in, is that people believe they need drugs to win. I don't
Yeah.
think it should be that way because it just ruins people's mental health. Even in dance, like there's such a big culture behind being skinny. I had so many friends that unfortunately went on to develop eating disorders. I think the system's changing in dance. From what I've seen now, it seems so much better. But back when I was younger, especially in ballet, they wanted us to not be able to see our stomach. They didn't want us to have flyaways in our hair. They were so strict. Accessibility has been a big thing. But I actually, as part of my coaching, I worked with a group of autistic people that would come to our trampoline club. And again, communicating with them, they all communicated differently. So one of them used communication cards. One of them would communicate through like a guardian. Another one was really young and had only just got an autistic diagnosis, so he communicated through screaming at me. So, it's really interesting to work with them and find new ways. And of course, some of them were quite on the higher dependency needs. So
Yeah.
a lot of them couldn't actually do the skills that we were asking them to do, or that you would do at a competitive level. And for them, it was just about having fun. And to be honest, I was a bit jealous of them. Like they would just come and just bounce around for an hour, and I'm like, why can I not do that? Why does
Yeah.
society want me to do all these flips? Why can I not just bounce around and
Enjoy. Yeah. Definitely. I feel like accessibility is definitely a big one, but I think it's getting slightly better.
it
But
definitely
yeah.
is.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of barriers, really. And it's really great that you talked about like boys, I feel like as well,
Yeah.
because that doesn't often get talked about enough. So my last question is, what advice would you give to a young person who wants to get involved in sport, but who might struggle with confidence? And also
Um,
even getting involved in social action as well.
I would definitely say just go for it. You never know what it's going to do, and it might not work out. I think I'm a prime example. I've tried so many different sports, I've tried different social action projects. Some of them don't work out, and that's okay. You
Yeah.
have to have the guts to go, yeah, this isn't working out. I'm going to try something else. But in terms of like not having the confidence, I don't know, I am quite lucky that I think I always had a lot of confidence as a kid. So it's really hard to almost like understand when people say, "Oh, I don't have the confidence to go," because I'm like, I can't really say I understand your struggle if I've never felt it. But one thing I can say is that I've seen so many young people come into sport and not have the confidence, and 2, 3 months, even a year later, they're probably more confident than me, and that's saying something. And even with social action as well, so many of the people that not only in St. John but also in Ingeus as well, a lot of them come in and they don't have an awful lot of confidence. They're not very outgoing, especially in St. John. I've worked with a lot of cadets who they don't want to take the lead. They don't want to introduce themselves to the patient. They almost just want to stand and observe in the back. Whilst that's great, whilst I think definitely to start out, it's perfectly fine. Sometimes I just want to sit in the back and observe, especially for some of those more difficult patients. For some of the cadets, it's really nice when I try and get them involved and I say, all right, no rush, let's take this at your pace. But, how about you do this? Or how about we just take this? Or, how about I teach you this? And by the end of the event, there was this one person that I knew for a while. When I first met him and I went out on an event with him, he did not speak. He, I think, said 2 words to me the entire event. But now he's the Lord Lieutenant for the district, and he's going off to all these events and networking with these people, and even just going out and speaking to people by himself, like without family or friends there, and like going out and just speaking to these patients and taking the lead on some of these patients. And he's younger than me still, and I'm like, this is incredible to see, and it's really amazing to know that like I was a small part of that journey. I would say, like, it's okay to be scared. Like, it's okay to be anxious. It's okay to not want to do it. And it's okay if it doesn't work out, but give it a go and see what happens. And I would definitely say to young people that want to do something better with their life, and even young people that might not enjoy it, that have tried sport and might not want to, like, might not enjoy it, try other things, like try other sports or try social action. There are so many different social action projects out there. Schools do a lot of them. Even St. John Ambulance have a lot of cadet programs around the whole of England and even in Wales. So yeah, I'd just say just get involved and see where it takes you. Because I think, yeah, if I didn't do sport, my life maybe would have been really different.
Yeah, exactly. You'll not regret it.
We haven't regretted it just yet.
Well, that's all my questions. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Beth.
no problem. I'll have to update you in a year's time, see if I actually run this marathon.
Yeah, no, definitely. And keep doing all the amazing things you're doing because it's so incredible. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It would be great if you could give it a follow and if you could give it a rating. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne or on X at Eden71003.